Hello there, it's a beautiful evening here in Long Island, New York. We're getting ready to fly across the Atlantic back to the UK. But I just wanted to show you guys just a quick simple demonstration of one of the elements that's part of our pre-flight. And not everybody always gets to see this. So we obviously do all the normal pre-flight routine that you would normally do on any aircraft. You look at the airframe, you look at the liquids, you look at the electrics and all of that. But in addition, we come into this area here, which is basically the aft equipment bay. We open it up and it's lovingly known sometimes as the HAL hole. It can be quite daunting in the beginning when you look at it, but it makes sense after some time. So if I climb in here, switch a light on, you can see a lot of the sort of guts and internal dimensions of the jet that you don't normally get to see. And I'm not going to bore everybody with all the details, but the APU sits behind that bulkhead in there. And if I just talk about the ducting to start with, you can see that there's a duct that comes out there where APU bleed air comes in. The bleed air then follows this duct all the way here, and it can either go straight to the air turbine starter of the right engine there, or it can cross bleed. Well, that is the cross bleed duct there, and then it can go to the left air turbine starter, and also feeds the air cycle machine, which is this big thing here where a lot of the air conditioning and pressurization magic happens. Bleed air enters from either the APU or the engine bleeds into the air cycle machine, where it is either cooled, heated and mixed according to the demands of whatever we need in the cabin. And you can see that there's lines that will feed from the air cycle machine. It'll go down all the way into the cabin. There's also the trim air, which comes in from the bleed sources and completely avoids the air cycle machine. So if there was like a problem with the air cycle machine or a leak or some issue, you could use trim air only. That will take care of a lot of those, many of those requirements. It might get a bit hot in the cabin, but it's a good alternative. Then you can see a lot of the control cables and things still in here. So many cables and pulleys and systems that you have, same as in any sort of light aircraft, mechanically controlled, but hydraulically actuated. Talking about hydraulics, left hydraulic system reservoir is there. The right hydraulic system reservoir is there. These two big things here is DCPC centers, where a lot of the electrical brains of the aircraft is. Those are DCMPs, motor-driven pumps, so the electric pumps for the right hydraulic system, for the left hydraulic system. And then on the Challenger 300 that we have here, you also have an auxiliary system there. The only job of the auxiliary system is to move the lower rudder PCU in case of a complete hydraulic loss. So yeah, it's a bit of an overview. You can also inspect all these bleed loops. These cables here are designed to detect bleed leaks. So there's effectively two pipes within each other there. And if there was a leak of bleed air, there's these weak points here where the hot air would escape and blow onto one of these cables here, these loops. And that will give us an indication in the cockpit that there's a bleed leak. And you've got these leak protection systems all the way around, and fire detectors and loops. Then you also, speaking of fire protection, there's the right engine's fire extinguisher, or the right engine, I shouldn't say engine, the right fire extinguisher and the left fire extinguisher. Now the left fire extinguisher, its only job is to extinguish any fires in the left engine, whereas the right one extinguishes fires in either engine. I'll start again, sorry. So you've got the number one and the number two. The number one can extinguish fires in either engine. The number 2 can extinguish fires in either engine and the APU. You can see that there's an extra green line that runs all the way down here to the back to the APU. So it's not really thought of as a right and a left system, it's a number 1 and a number 2 system. Number 1 can do both engines, number 2 can do both engines, but number 2 is the only one that can also do the APU. So just a little bit of Challenger 300 trivia. I know that I'm speaking very simple language, partly because my knowledge is pretty simple on it, and I don't want to bore you guys, and I want to keep it nice and brief, but it's a nice little thing to look at that you don't often get to see the inside of an aircraft like this as part of your pre-flight briefing, or pre-flight inspections I should say. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this look of the Challenger 300. Just before I go, cockpit voice recorder, flight data recorder, and yeah, just a bunch of other things you see in here that you don't normally get to see when you look at these aircraft. Coming out here, back into the nice cold air again. I can continue with my walk around and look at the landing gear and the rest of it as we prepare for our flight across the Atlantic.